Let's get some analysis now with Mark Kimmitt, who's a former Assistant Secretary of State for Political Military Affairs. He joins us now from Washington, D.C. Good to have you back with us, Brigadier General. We finally have confirmation from Volodymyr Zelensky himself that Ukraine's counteroffensive is underway. Of course, Russia had said that it had begun as early as last week. Can you tell us, what do you make of Kiev's claims that it's managed to recapture several villages in the south of the country? Do you believe them, and is it a surprise to you, or does it come as expected, really?
Well, I certainly believe them. I don't think something as simple as a couple of villages being recaptured would be any reason for the Ukrainians to lie about this. I don't think the capture of a few villages in the context of a counteroffensive is any significant act. That's good to see, but I wouldn't suggest that that has had any signs of victory or defeat for either side. It's way too early in the counteroffensive to be ascribing who's winning and who's losing.
Yes, and we know that Kiev has received a significant amount of military support from its allies, especially the United States. They include, of course, the Patriot missile defense system, Leopard 2 tanks. Zelensky's asking for a fighter jet coalition as well now. How crucial has this material been in terms of really bolstering Ukraine's defenses in the lead up to this counteroffensive?
Too early to tell. It's important to understand that what's going on inside of Ukraine right now are probing attacks along the Russian front line. Probably the weapon systems that you're referring to, the mechanized vehicles and the tanks, are being held in reserve until the probes find a weak spot in the Russian front line. Then, if I was running the show, I would then send those 8 to 9 brigades worth of mechanized vehicles and tanks into that weak spot and try to break through. That's what the counteroffensive needs to do. It's apparent to me that they have not found that weak spot yet. Could take some time, but they'll keep probing along those front lines until they find that spot, and then they'll attack.
And Brigadier General, what about Russia's defences? We've heard a lot about how its resources have been depleted, that morale among troops is low. There's even divisions with the mercenary group Wagner. What do you make of Moscow's defences right now? Can they put up a fight against this counteroffensive?
Well, it's important to recognize that in a counteroffensive, the defender has the advantage. There's no doubt that Russia has been preparing their front lines for quite some time, and they probably have a series of defensive lines, fully knowing that the Ukrainians are going to try to attack through it. It doesn't take great troops, it doesn't take great morale to slow down a counteroffensive like that. So I would suspect that we ought to take these reports of significant victory and significant progress with a grain of salt. Luckily, we haven't heard any of those yet, and that's probably because of the toughness of those Russian defensive lines.
Okay, Brigadier General Mark Kimmitt, we'll have to leave it there, but always good to get your analysis. Thanks again for joining us.